Before we start drawing today, I have something to confess. I've been holding out on you guys. You know, as well as I do, that when I started this YouTube channel, this was a channel for custom action figures, and I have not made a custom action figure in a long time. I did recently make this though, which I think you guys might like to see. So, this is Spawn, from Spawn, right? Okay, I didn't make this figure. This is the 10th anniversary Spawn figure. I think it's from IDW Collectibles. Sounds about right. I got him in pretty bad condition. He was missing all of his skulls, all the spikes had been cut off of him, and he was missing these little things, these little pouches on his thigh. He was in pretty bad condition, and all this is just a fix-up job. So I went in, I added the cape, obviously, repainted most of him, gave him a wash all over. I added these back on, sculpted them as best as I could. I resculpted all of the spikes and then painted those up. I added this chain, and these skulls were all sculpted. I guess first off I should start off with a big modification, which is the shoulders. On the original figure, these things only moved forward and back, but they did have this butterfly joint. I modded it so that there's a butterfly joint still, but these also go up and down now. They still retain all their articulation. If that figure had that and double jointed elbows, it would have been great. I didn't do double jointed elbows, but oh well. I sculpted over where the pegs were showing through originally. I guess I should talk about these skulls. They were just sculpted flat and then just kind of cut out. It's pretty easy. This one was interesting, right? So the figure has this waist articulation, right, that I didn't want to get rid of, but this skull is right in the way. So in order to get around that, I drilled a little hole in his belly button. I drilled a hole in the back of this thing, and there's a double ball joint in there, right? Which means that once this is put in there, you can kind of angle it around however you want, so that you can still twist the waist into any angle and it doesn't get in the way, and you can make it lay flat, regardless of where it is, which is cool. Now his chain I wanted to be extremely long, just like the original figure, so I mean we got a good like crazy amount of chain there, and it attaches up on his back via a magnet. That just sticks right there, and then it hangs down like it normally does. Obviously, the biggest thing about this guy is the cape, right? This was 2 sheets of fabric. I cut it out in this big, flat, half-circle kind of a thing. I cut out all the little spikes. I put some wire in there by sewing it in, and then I put another piece of fabric on top of it. I glued them together. I flattened them out and cut out the edges again so that it all matched up. And then I went through and creased all of this just with an iron. So now you've got 3 wires in here. You've got one here, here, and running down the back. And I also folded the ends of these with a wire, with an iron, so that they're always kind of pointing off in different directions, just like actual Spawn. And then I went in with an airbrush and kind of touched it up a bit. He also has this collar, which is posable. It's the most difficult thing about finding a good Spawn figures. Like, this one was almost perfect, but I just had a couple of things wrong with him. It would be almost impossible for a retailer to sell you a good cape on a Spawn figure because it's so massive. And this one had to be made in 3 parts. There's the bottom, this kind of folded up bit, and then the collar itself. And those are just wired into him. And yeah, that's all I had to show you. I just wanted to report that I had made something. So, without further ado, back to your regularly scheduled program. I don't believe I've shown it off on camera yet, but here's the new sketchbook I made. Bound it myself again. These are just pieces of cardboard with paper over top of them. I did this design. I don't know why. How's my main squeeze? It's naughty. It's very naughty. I don't know what SA company is. It was given to me by my cousin because he said I said I liked stickers, and he told me he had some, and it seemed cool. I think it's a beanie company, maybe. They seem cool. I like their logo. So today, I'm going to be drawing in this book with this pen. This is a Pilot Parallel pen, the 6mm one specifically, and they are fun. They are cheap calligraphy pens. You can get some crazy expensive calligraphy pens, but these are alright for my liking. So, as you can see there, it has a very, very broad nib, which means that it writes very wide lines, as you can see. Really fun, but it also does little lines if you go that way. I don't know much about calligraphy. I'm not very good at it. I just know that this pen is very fun to draw with. Oh, look at that. Ooh, I like watching the liquid bubble up like that. That's fun. Anyways, though, I figure we'll do a quick drawing with it. And getting right into the drawing, this isn't the first time I've done something with one of these Pilot Parallel pens. I've done a couple of little doodles with them. This is the first time I've done it, though, that I feel like I've really had a good feeling of it. I've never tried calligraphy, never been particularly gifted with it. And I personally think it's a little more fun for me to draw than to write things. But it's a good skill to have, and I'd like to work on it a little bit more in the future. How is everyone today? Everyone doing all right? I was meaning to ask a question of you guys. So a couple videos back, I did the short story The Wall, kind of similar to the Rust short story I did, set in the same world, I suppose, but I wanted a little bit of feedback on that. If you guys had any input, I always love to hear constructive criticism, you know. I mean, lay into me if you got to, if I committed some horrible offense. But I would very much like to know what people thought of it. I like that format a lot. I like writing. Writing is the second most favorite thing I can do at the moment. Well, maybe not. Let's see, what is, I mean, drawing's just like an instinct for me. Writing is more of like, not as much an instinct. I don't know, ideas come to my head a lot, but it's not extremely often that I write down full stories, you know. I write down ideas. I keep a little book just of ideas for, I don't know, character designs or places or wherever. But it's not often that I write. So I guess I was wrong when I said that writing was like my second favorite thing to do. No, my second favorite thing to do is probably eat toaster strudels. If I could get a toaster strudel sponsorship, that would mean the world. A lot of those ideas that I get come from dreams that I've had. And boy, in the last few days, I've been having quite a few interesting ones. I guess I should talk about the one last night because it's still fresh in my mind. I had a dream that there was a school bus, and it was half submerged, like in the desert, like in a lake bed. I don't know how it got there. I don't know how, but like some kids like opened the bus, like because the back end was sticking out. It was like dusk. It was like a very barren area. It was like some kids opened the back. I think I may have been one of the kids. I don't know. It's a dream. Who knows? You know, you're just kind of sometimes just floating around. But anyways, they opened the back, and Batman was there, like curled up in a ball in one of the chairs. I don't know what he was doing, but Batman was in my dream. Is there some symbolism behind Batman? Specifically, like a wounded or curled up in fetal position Batman? Because I'd like to know. I'd very much like to know. And then later on in the dream, I was me this time. I was at like an awards ceremony, and someone, it was like a butler guy. Maybe he was Alfred from Batman. I don't know, but he was like some butler guy. And I was walking up to the awards ceremony, and he gave me like that thing, you thing you do when you see someone and you like do like the high five / slide into a fist bump. He did that, and then he just said, I think he just said like, you gotta make sure you pound it or whatever. And I just like died of laughter. And I don't know why. I don't know why that was funny to me in my dream, but I erupted into laughter in my dream. And so much so that I woke up thinking that it was funny. And then I thought about it for a couple seconds, and I realized there's nothing funny about that. There's nothing. Why would that be funny? I don't know. Dreams are weird. That's why I try to take a lot of ideas from them, because they're weird and they're out there, but sometimes they're brilliant. Obviously, that wasn't. That was just stupid. This type of drawing is very fun because it's just one of those drawings where I can turn my brain off for a little bit. It's an abstract, if you will. Every once in a while, I like to think about construction, and I like to really focus in on perspective and shading and stuff like that. But on certain occasions like this, it's just fun to switch your brain off for a little bit and just draw, Just let your mind wander to wherever it may go. Plus, this was quick. It only took me like 20 minutes to draw this one. Sometimes I put a lot of pressure on myself, a lot of unnecessary pressure to draw something amazing, and let this be a lesson to everyone. I think that what ends up happening is I end up drawing the things that I like best, and I think the things that you'd probably like best when you're just having fun and enjoying yourself. I don't know what perspective I was just saying that in, if that was first or third person, but you know what I mean. The fun thing about art is that there's no rules. There's no rules. There are rules for perspective and people and stuff, but there's a bunch of rules, and the number one rule is that you should break all the rules, because that's when you get the most interesting things. What I'm trying to say is, shut your brain off for a bit, listen to some music, and just draw or something. Or sit in silence, that works too. If you can have a podcast on in the background, you can do that. I used to listen to podcasts while drawing, but I'm not very good at focusing. I end up focusing on what the people are saying over what's actually being drawn. So for this, I just popped in some music. I was listening to Igor by Tyler, the Creator. It's good album. Weird, very weird. I like that sound though. If anybody else has listened to it, I'm sure they understand what I mean. Vaporwave-ish. It's like the second episode in a row I've mentioned vaporwave. I'm not that into vaporwave necessarily, but a lot of really good music has come out of it. Some of it I don't like personally. And all of that to say, I think that the best drawings, my favorite drawings I've made, are the ones where I just enjoy myself and just let whatever I'm doing flow free. This turned into some weird structure, some kind of alien, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's really up to me to interpret. Maybe it's up to you. Maybe you decide. And some of my things, I know that in the past, sometimes I will draw something specific, and people are going to say, oh, is that, I don't know, is that a guy? And it's like, no, that's obviously a truck. That's obviously a school bus submerged halfway in the mud, and a man giving me fist bump and making me die of laughter. But I've learned to just kind of let it go, sometimes people aren't going to always see what you see. I mean, it's a little frustrating if you're drawing something very specific and then they don't see what you were trying to do, but you know, you'll improve. That's the fun thing about art, is people can interpret it in whatever way they want, you know? That's the other fun thing about art. I kind of see like a weird personally, I see a weird like Cocapelli type man in this. And he's got like static in his brain and it's oozing out of all his face holes. And then there's a weird sun in the sky. But I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that's what that is. You might see it as something else. I didn't even plan on drawing anything. It just kind of came out like this. But that's how it goes, I suppose. What do you think it is? Do you think it's anything? It could be nothing. For all we know, this is something, but it's probably not. I had a really fun time drawing with this Pilot Parallel pen. I like these things. I will say that I think that the 6.0 millimeter one is my favorite of them. They come in like 4 different sizes, and they're like thin to large. And I think it's only because I like it as a drawing tool more than anything. The smaller ones are probably really good if you're going to be doing some calligraphy, but I like the broad and then flat strokes that you can get with this. You can really taper it from a very wide angle to a small little flat fine point. Hopefully in the future I'll work on it. I'll work with it again. And when I do, I'll show you. Maybe. If I record it. If I'm home, you know? I shouldn't put... I used to put a lot of pressure on myself to record everything I drew, and that meant that I didn't have time to draw anything because I never had time to record, so I got in a rut. So don't do that, you know? If you are making videos or whatever, you need to draw for yourself sometimes and not just draw for the camera. You need to draw for you, you know? That's gonna be it for this video. And I guess goodbye. I'll see you next time. Bye. I guess. Where's the stop button?